crushed it, man. You got to put this one out on the website. This is a good one. You look great in it the whole time, too.
Thank you.
So, hey, so Patrick has agreed to stay. By the way, I'm Italian-Irish, too.
It's a wacky combination,
It is it's bizarre. So we're going to take some questions from the audience. So, we've got the mics here, and Patrick and I are going to sit up here and just have a little time together with you. So think about this because, we talked about the technology teams. That's kind of the epicenter, the engine, the gears, if you will. Each one of those teams are the gears that really make your company go forward. Patrick gave you some great information on how you can really find the right people. And I would say 100%, and I'm just going to tell you this. I told you this when we talked on the phone. But thank you so much for the book because it's so prescriptive. It's got all the intellectual property that's necessary, and it's also so prescriptive. We're using it for our entire talent team. By the way, we don't have an HR team. Maybe this is a new thing. It's a talent team, right? We're here in Florida. It's like, Disney does their whole cast, thing, but we like to have a talent team instead of a human resource team. So puts a better flavor on it. And our whole talent team uses that book as if it's their Bible. So we hire on that. We onboard people on that. They get the book when they come into the company. They're told this is what we expect, okay? We hire and fire based on it. We do coaching and mentoring based on it.
Wow.
But it's easy because you put it all there in the book, right? So it's so easy. They can even flip to the back and figure out, how should I be answering these questions, right?
It's when I wrote it, we had no idea. So many companies have said, yeah, we're doing that. We're using that throughout our organization. We're like, really? I think we underestimated the power of the simplicity. We didn't discover something new. We kind of just described what they all said. Yeah, that's what it is we want.
Right.
So I'm honored that you did that. I'm glad we wrote the book. I'm glad that you're using it.
Oh yeah, and it's made a huge difference in the company. And I'll also say that where's Jen? Jen Locklear? If you could just stand up wherever you are. I know you're here. Where's Jen? Someone tell me where she is.
Way in the back.
Why are you in the back? You're supposed to be right up here, and we got a seat for you right here. This is your favorite author in the world. Get up here. Here's your seat.
Come on, let's hug. ENFP's hug.
Jen is in charge of our talent team, and she is a Lencioni, huge fan, read all your books. And when I told her, I said, look, I walked into her office, and I gave her the book, and I said, look, this is what I want to use as our Bible for our talent team. She goes, oh, thank you. So Jen, get on up here. All right, so let's take questions from the crowd. From the entire IT nation here. It's completely open for you. So first question.
Yeah. First, that was a great talk. That was awesome. Read a couple of your books. It's really good stuff. Of the three...
I'm going to hug Jen here because she walked all the way up here.
Oh, you got to get it. Someone get a picture of this.
Hello, Jen. How are you? Okay.
He jumped off the stage for you.
Yes.
Yeah. Of the three characteristics that you pointed out, which one do you find the hardest to teach somebody else?
I think that, so there's two ways to look at that. To explain it might be humility, because if it's not, some people are like, why, And that's when I go to the real Bible and say, well, here's why. And then... And I know you're using it as a metaphor. That's
it is
good.
a metaphor.
Yeah. And then, but the hardest one to actually teach behaviorally, I thought it would be the easiest is hunger. Because what I didn't realize is that some people are actually, nobody's actually like, when they realize the benefits of humility, none of them are like, yeah, I really like being that way. Or, yeah, you kind of don't really understand how to act around people to make them, nobody goes, yeah, I love that. But there are some people that go, you're not really that passionate about work. They're like, I know, because I love all this other stuff. So I find that some people are actually more committed to lacking hunger, and so it's harder to teach them later in life. It's easy to explain it to them, harder to get them to have behavioral change.
Right on. Thank you.
Sure.
Pat, thank you for a very informative talk.
Thank you for saying so.
I've got two questions. First one is, why did you call your company the Table Group? And the second one is, we try and follow all the practices that you suggest. We get it wrong, and the mistake that I often make is I don't know when to call time. So we try and help them improve, but
Like, when do you go, enough?
Yeah, and the mistake that I always make is I leave it too long.
Yes.
When do you know it's the right time?
Yeah, that's because you're a wuss.
Yep. I'd agree with that.
I am too. So. No, actually, let me explain this. So the table group, we called that because we think the best piece of technology in the world is a table. We think in spite of all the electronic stuff going on, it's still, you sit down around a table and that's where things get done. And it was just simple. And we thought that it's still sturdy. And even with, because I started, in 1997 in the like in the Bay Area, where it was all startups. And most of our clients were early stage startups. And we thought, something, they get so enamored with technology, which is so important, but we're going to bring it down to the most basic things. So we said a table is still the most reliable piece of technology. And we also thought it was a simple name. And my mother-in-law didn't like the idea, so I said, okay, this must be good. And and as far as, and God bless her, as far as the letting it go too long, here's the thing. When in doubt, always err on the side of grace. If you're not sure, I think it's always better to give somebody more time. But there comes that moment where you go, here's the thing you need to do. You need to say, am I really doing them a favor by keeping them here, or am I prolonging their pain? The truth of the matter is, when we allow people, when I say I'm a wuss, it's not because one day I realized, I used to think, well, I'm just so nice, that's why I do that. And I was really like, nah, I'm not really that nice. I just don't want to go through the messiness of having to help them move out. And so that day when you go, and I pray about it, it's like, help me do the right thing. It's like, okay, I don't think I'm helping them anymore. They're suffering, their family is suffering, and if I just called the question, you see relief on somebody's face sometimes, you go, I don't think this is a good place for you, but I will help you figure out your next step. Oftentimes, that's a great source of relief, and it's the beginning of their recovery. So if we can really ask ourselves, am I still keeping them on because I'm not sure, or am I still keeping them on because I really don't want to go through the unpleasantness, and I'm just praying that they'll just leave on their own? So have the courage. Now, I would say this too. It sure helps if you have 2 or 3 other people you can talk to about it, and they'll support you, because even when you let somebody go who's the right person to let go, they often won't say that to you, and even other people in the organization will say, I can't believe you're doing that. And if you have really good people you can trust that say, no, you're doing the right thing, even though they're mad at you, have courage and keep going. Okay?
Thank you.
I hope that helps.
I want to just add one thing to that,
Please.
Raja, and that is, my father taught me, he's a career IBM executive, and he said, and I thought this was really unusual, he said, I've never fired anyone. And I said, how could that be? You manage 200 people. How have you never fired anyone? He says, that's easy, Arnie. I just take them, sit down, we talk. They're miserable. We know they're miserable. They're making everyone else miserable around them. They're not performing. And I just have this talk with them. Life is too short. You don't seem to be really enjoying it here. And really, you should think about that, because life is too short. Go find where you're going to have your passion, because it's obviously not here. You seem like you're not enjoying this. You seem like you're miserable. And he says he's never had to fire anyone based on that discussion.
He's a great guy. Alan Mulally, the CEO of Ford, who turned around Ford, he's no longer the CEO there, but he was the guy that took it over when they were in trouble and didn't use government money and helped them turn around. He turned around Ford he fired very few people. But what he did is he would sit down with them lovingly and go, here's how we have to behave now. And sometimes people would go, yeah, I don't want to do that. And he'd go, that's okay. And they go, really? And he goes, yeah, you don't have to work here. We can still be friends. And he'd mean it real. He goes, we can still be friends,
Exactly.
but you just can't be here that way.
Right.
So if this isn't the kind of behavior you want to do, then let's find another place for you, but I can't keep you here.
Right.
And it's like you're doing them a favor. So
You're doing it out of love.
That's the key. That's the key. Love your people enough to do the difficult things.
Hello, I'm Nate from Minneapolis, and I remember reading your Ideal Team Player book late last year.
Oh, yeah?
And it, for me,
Tell me what you liked most about it.
Well,
No,
I'll
I'm
tell
just
you
teasing.
what I
No,
like.
I'm just
Yeah,
joking.
I had a person on my team that I just, in my gut, something didn't feel right. And after reading your book, it basically gave me a definition for what I was feeling. So it helped me put in context like some of the things that I just, just didn't really feel great about. So, so thank you for that.
Well,
My question is that while these are, I agree that your book it resonates with people, as you mentioned, because it's these are kind of universal virtues, like virtuous qualities in people. However, in addition to that, I imagine that you, with all your consulting and research and data that you've assessed, not only is it the right thing to do, but it probably has quantifiable benefits to teams that actually execute at a high level in implementing this. So can you, again, not only is it the right thing to do just because of the virtuous aspect of it, but what have you seen, like, to give people that may be considering this and the drive to implement it, what benefits should they realize, or what have you seen benefits quantifiably?
Well, I will say this. I'm terrible at that. I started my career at Bain & Company as a management consultant, which I thought sounded interesting until they said, it's going to be all quantitative analysis, because I'm a qualitative guy. And I met Jim Collins. I've gotten to know him a little bit. I think he's fabulous and his books are great. And I met him one of the first times. I said, Jim, I feel really bad. You do all this quantitative analysis. There's a chart for everything and numbers. And I said, that's not what I do. And he goes, it doesn't matter. Face validity is validity. If it works and your clients know it works and it serves them, that's real. And so I know that there's somebody that could probably quantify it, but I don't trust numbers very much. Sometimes I feel, because I worked at that firm, and firms like that, they know how to make numbers look a certain way, and I just never wanted to do that. But I can tell you this, if you want to quantify it, calculate the cost, just the direct cost of hiring somebody that doesn't fit and having to get rid of them. And then, and here's the thing, I don't think you can accurately calculate it, but you could calculate something, the cost of what it does to the other people in your department when they work with these people. And I think the most important, it's like if somebody said, okay, my wife and I aren't getting along, and I found this counselor, and for $1,000 a session, they can help us get better, and they really do help. Well, give me the ROI of that. How much are my kids' grades gonna go up? And over the long haul, how much money are we gonna save in our family? The most important things we do in life, you can't really calculate the ROI, but you know that it's massive. Yeah. So that, I would tend to say, I don't know how to put an exact number around it, but I know if you talk to a sales team or an IT, anybody, they'd go, oh, my life is different. I love working here. I'm not going anywhere else because we work with humble, hungry, and smart people.
Yeah, that's great.
So I hope that's helpful. Yes.
Hi, Patrick.
Hello.
Hey, thank you. Great talk.
Oh, that's kind of you say.
My number 3 is SMART, and I'm looking for some practical advice on how I can improve that.
That's great. Okay, first of all, let people know that you're aware of that. Yeah, not only, check. Stop hiding it from the world.
Fair enough.
But sit down with your team and go, hey, I think this is my thing. Secondly, your best coaches in life are them, are your team. And go, honestly, if you want to suck up to me, catch me doing this and telling me. In other words, the best thing you can do for this team, your career, and our relationship is helping me with this. Because what you really need is people around you to go, oh yeah, that one was like that. Oh yeah, you did it again. You know what I mean? And then third, there are some things, Travis Bradberry, the guy who wrote the book Emotional Intelligence, he says you can definitely learn these things. So there's some specific programs, but I think the most important thing is exposure therapy. When say, you guys, if I say something that comes off wrong or I'm missing something, please be the one to tell me, because I will be in debt to you forever, right? Awesome. So I think you're well on your way. Just the fact that you said that and you know that. What's your Myers-Briggs type? Do you know what it is?
INTJ.
INTJ, okay, great. So you're a strategist and you totally go out and figure things out, and you're so smart that it's intimidating for a person like me to want to tell you that. So if you go, please tell me. In fact, don't even put it on them. At the end of meetings or at the end of conversations, go, okay, now that we're finished, tell me something I did today that probably I wasn't aware. You know what I mean? Don't even make it up to them.
Yeah. All right.
Are you married?
Yes.
Yeah, there's a source of that for you too.
All right. Thank you.
Hi, good morning. First, thanks for professing God, and also thanks for a very useful presentation. I hire salespeople, and we subscribe to the Sandler method. What nuances can you give me for integrating some of your thoughts into how we hire salespeople who must be accountable?
The Sandler method?
Yep.
Oh yeah, the Sandler method is interesting because I don't know anything about it. I heard it mentioned, but I don't know anything about it. So do you want to give me some more, in other words?
It's basically just another version of question-based selling, and also always trying to find the customer's pain and using that as the bridge to close the deal.
So it's a little bit more skill-based.
Correct.
Emotionally skill-based, but skill-based. I say do them both. I say do them both. That method will probably help you get to that they're qualified, or it might teach them the right skills. But I'm sure if you go through the way they do it, I would go, do you have a vendor that helps you with the Sandler method? I would sit down and go, hey, tell me where you see the overlap between these two things.
So you're saying buy 2 copies of your book?
Oh, no, yes.
One for me.
Get your vendor to buy copies and tell them it's their, no.
No, I'm going to buy them a copy. I think that's great advice. Thank you.
Yeah, do both. Do both.
By the way, Sandler is a definition for the sales job and what they should do in their job. The ideal team player is a definition for who they should be. And there's a big difference there. Okay?
Hi, thank you.
Oh, wait, over there, we have another one.
I was going to say, are you going to skip us? So I need a little advice, and it's not easy, but it's about managing up. And I have an executive who, when doing the ideal team player self-assessment, truly believes he's equally strong in all 3 categories. And it's not that he can't admit that he's weak in one, it's that he truly believes it. And it's not true.
Is he here? Let's bring him up here and have a talk.
No, he's not here.
Okay.
But, so I need some help with how to manage up and help him understand what the rest of us know.
Right. And this is one of those wonderful questions in life. And what I would say is this: first of all, you have to understand, does the person have the capacity for self-reflection and openness? Or
he believes he does.
He believes it. Okay, great.
And he truly wants to.
Yeah.
And let's give him that benefit. He truly wants to.
You know, in my career, I rose up the ranks before I started my own firm. I think one of the most important things I did was I was the person that people would shove into the CEO's office and say, you tell him. And I didn't even work directly for the CEO during part of this time. His direct reports would go, Pat, go tell him this. I'd be like, you work for him. They're like, yeah, but he listens to you. But what I would do is, I call it telling them the kind truth. See, we usually err on the side of going and telling people what they want to hear to make them feel better. And it's a desire that's born out of wanting to affirm them. That's fine, but it doesn't help them. The other one is that we go in there and we go, I finally get the courage up to go in there and say, you don't know what you are. And they don't like that either. And I found that over time, that if I could look at that person, not as a superior to me or older than me or my boss or my boss's boss, but as a human being just like me that needs people to help them, and I could go in and kindly, humbly say, listen, I don't think I'm better than you at your job. I have so many of my own issues, but I think there's something you would benefit from. And I'm not telling you this to make you feel bad or to condescend you, but I think it might be helpful for you. I find this: 19.5 times out of 20, they will do they'll either ignore it, they'll go thanks, but they won't act on it, which no skin off your nose. Or usually, though, they would go thank you. Very few people tell them the kind truth. And every once in a while, they'll punish you for it in some way. But I never experienced it. Like you said, most people aren't truly if you give me any bad feedback, you're out of here.
Right,
and
nobody's saying, I'm an a-hole, and I'm cool with that.
Exactly. And so the thing is, take that risk, and I think you do it out of selfless, sacrificial love. And it mostly benefits you, but even if it doesn't, you know now. And the thing is, look back 10 years from now at your career and say, do you want to be the person who did that, or the person who waited till somebody else did that, or waited and nobody else did it? And if the person really is that closed to feedback, or they're that unable to digest it, it's probably good to know that, so you know your limitation, and also it makes you think, well, maybe I would like to work for somebody who was a little bit more self-aware. So I would throw up a little prayer before I did that conversation.
Maybe have a drink,
Okay, thank you.
whatever.
We got time for one more?
Yep. Oh, here.
Yes.
Oh, he's been standing in line longer.
Okay, you're so nice.
So I feel under the current landscape of employment that we're dealing with right now, that if I, where I struggle to even have people come to work on time, right? So if we use this method, I feel that almost all the candidates that I've seen in the last 2-3 years would be automatically disqualified from being in our organization. So I don't know if there's a point at which we can settle on one over another, or if there's a way to judge the scale of capacity for someone who is lacking in one area to gain, to be less, deficient.
I think the best thing to do is involve them in the conversation. Because none of these are like, what? We have to come to work on time? That's stupid, And so what I would say is, let's talk about what these mean. What do you think? The average human being is going to go, yeah, we should come to work on time if we're hungry. Yeah, we should probably do this. We should write. And granted, if the bar is fairly low right now, just concentrate on raising it a little bit. And involve them. And wouldn't it be wonderful, though, to sit down with these people and go, so which is yours? And somebody goes, yeah, I'm not very hungry. Obviously, I don't always come on time. And go, okay, since you said that, so what are we going to do about that? And they're not going to go, nothing. I like being that way. They know.
I guess my only answer to that, so I think we could work internally on that. It's that the job market is so tight, and most of the good people that we see are not available to us. So we're getting in people that have a lot more deficiency than usual.
Why don't you think about this? If you're looking at a candidate, Patrick just went through the different sort of, the pawn, the bulldozer, think about that and think about which ones are the most coachable. Because if you're not getting what you're looking for, then you should at least get the next best thing, right? You don't want bulldozers, right? You don't want politicians, right? You want the ones that you can mentor, that have a better chance of being mentored. And usually in our industry, technology, it's the smart part, right? I mean, usually they're hungry, they love the technology, they're not smart about people necessarily, right? And they may or may not be humble. And so just think about the three and which one you're willing to mentor.
The last thing I would say is this: do not discount the attractiveness of an environment. In other words, sometimes there's a self-fulfilling prophecy. If we have people like that, other people don't necessarily want to come work there. It's like people go, well, like at a church, well, they're all volunteers. I can't hold them accountable. Well, if you keep around volunteers who aren't really good, that's a good way to attract other volunteers just like them. Because I know for years I would go volunteer in my church and I go, oh, if this is what the standards you have, I don't want to spend my time here. So just be aware of the fact that there's an impact on that too. I'm not trying to say it's easy though.
Thank
All
you.
right.
All right. I think that's
over our time,
that's all we have time for. So Patrick, thank you so much. You did an amazing
My
job.
pleasure.
Give me a hug.
Thanks. Thank you so much, Arnie, for bringing me here. God bless you.